Hello everyone and welcome to what is probably going to be a short channel update followed by a bit of a ramble. As you can see here, I have been creating a spreadsheet of basically my YouTube channel series, and whether they're evergreen, whether they've been finished, well there's a couple upcoming here, whether they're ongoing or whether they are on hiatus. And I thought I'd share this with you, because it's probably good information for you to consider, like how I see the channel and what series are still going, and anything that might be on hiatus might be good to point out as well. For the most part, you don't really need to worry, but we'll get into it. And also just because I've spent hours on this. I've spent literal hours on this and I'm quite pleased with it, and I just want to show it off. The second part of this video is just gonna be me showing off my spreadsheets, because I'm like, you know, oh, look at my spreadsheets. Oh, I've been getting into spreadsheets lately. I've talked about this on a weekly waypoint. But anyway, I figured I would go back throughout. This is based on my playlists, so I feel like there's probably a few series which have been overlooked because I may have forgotten to make playlists for them over the years. This is something I'll be obviously updating all the time, and I can obviously add to or change as things go on. This here is mostly like self-reminders, because when you make a spreadsheet or when you make some kind of document, you assume you're always going to know what everything means, and then later on you're like, wait a second, what was my rule for this? So yeah, as you can see in my evergreen series, we've got the things you would expect, like the weekly waypoint, the roguelike ramble, shows in like either, you know, online games which don't have an end, or games which I feel like have infinite content, like Adventures in Cyrodiil. So obviously my Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion series and like Assassin's Creed and stuff, even though the main goal of Stabby mode is to play through all of the different Assassin's Creed games start to finish, you better believe I'll be replaying them and, you know, messing around in them and that kind of thing. So that's the evergreen section. The finish section, I was worried this would show off how terrible I am at finishing series, but we got a decent little block here of finished series, I feel like. And then the ongoing series basically is, you know, even if I haven't contributed a video to the series in bloody ages, like Adventures in Neverwinter I haven't done since 2021, you know, Star Wars The Old Republic I haven't done since 2021, even then I still consider them ongoing, in the sense that, like, at any point I'm happy to return to it and continue to make videos in it, you know, at any point I'm happy to jump back in and continue. Like, I'm not like striking it off. I'm not like, oh, Neverwinter, yeah, I guess I did a few videos on that back in the day. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, Neverwinter, I'll probably get back to that at some point. That's pretty much what ongoing means. And something that's fun about like compiling data in this way as well is you can see that like my thoughts on and stuff, because I've done it by episode count and then by date if they're tied together. You can see obviously my thoughts ons you've got a block of them here because it's easier to make thoughts on videos, so there tend to be more of them. So fun to notice that. And then hiatus. Just to very quickly go over some of these. I mean, if you want to pause the video, you can literally see my reasoning here, but it's stuff that's usually like, you know, the Kritigri Zooms, Kritigri Jump series, they should just go back into the miscellaneous shenanigans. That's what those videos are. It was kind of weird to try and differentiate them out through genre. Stuff like Adventures as Ezio, or Adventures with Pokemon is stuff that's like, you know, I do those in kind of a different way now. Obviously, Assassin's Creed stuff is Stabby mode. You know, like Adventures in Port Island, obviously I'm playing Persona 3 Reload instead of Persona 3 Portable now, so I'm not going to continue the Persona 3 Portable series. It kind of feels pointless. And then there is some stuff like Adventures in Sanctuary, my Diablo 4 videos. I feel like I'm not going to be making a dedicated thing for Diablo 4 anymore, because I'll be putting that stuff in miscellaneous shenanigans. Thoughts perhaps over Last of Us, I didn't continue The Last of Us, so I'm not going to continue that series. So there's a couple here which are definitive like ends, I guess, of series. But yeah, most part it's just interesting to make, interesting to look at, and it's going to help me keep tabs on, like, for the most part, the way I run this channel is I just make videos in whatever I'm playing, but if I do want to be like, hey, I want to finish a thing, I want to go back and finish a thing, I can just look through here and be like, what do I want to continue? So yeah, if there's anything on this list that jumps out to you, please leave a comment if you want to get more information about it, like, hey, wait a second, why is this here? Or, oh, hey, I didn't know you were doing this. Like, obviously I will leave a link to this spreadsheet in the description below, so that you can go and look at it at your own leisure if that's something that appeals to you. Now, the other thing I wanted to do was show you the spreadsheets I've been making, because I'm pretty pleased with them, and they're really fun to make, and they're pretty simplistic for the most part. It's mostly just like number go up, color change, but it's pretty fun to keep track of these kinds of things. So firstly, the Pokemon cards one isn't finished at all, like not even a tiny bit, and I barely collect Pokemon cards, and this is probably a terrible way of even like putting this together, but I recently got a few Brilliant Stars packs and a few Astral Radiance packs, so I decided to have a go at that, but that was very time consuming for very little data, so I kind of got put off of doing the rest of those. Guild Wars 2 characters is kind of a, you know, I've talked about this before, I've run into technical difficulties with Guild Wars 2, so I'm unable to continue playing the game, but this was the beginnings of my Guild Wars 2 character sheet. I'm not going to delete it, because one day I might be able to play the game properly, you never know. But so the one that I think is a really good example is my World of Warcraft characters, of which I have many. This was the first spreadsheet I made, and you know what? That doesn't look like it needs to be that wide. Anyway, so yeah, I've got hero spec ready for fucking War Within, but anyway, yeah, these are all of my World of Warcraft characters, the name, the level. You can see there's like a sliding scale of colour for level. You know, you've got uncommon, rare, and epic, and legendary. That's pretty much the colour scale I use for most of these, and then we've got the class colours, of course, as well. We've got the realm that they're on, we've got the race, the gender, the professions. I didn't finish filling in the professions, I've just realised. Lore notes, if there's any of those. Context notes, so like, you know, what's he called in lore, and then like, what's this character actually about? So yeah, those are my retail ones, my RAF classic ones, my hardcore classic ones, which includes whether they're dead or alive, and the final played time, and the cause of death, which I find like really cool, and of course, you know, the usual stuff, and Season of Discovery, which I did try to keep track of deaths, and then I quickly realised I did a battleground and didn't keep track of any of those deaths, and they shouldn't really count either, but also like there may have been one or two that I didn't keep track of, so I don't know if I'm going to keep up with this particular column. But yeah, that's my World of Warcraft characters. As you can tell, that's the MMO I spend the most amount of time in. But it's also Final Fantasy XIV. Obviously not really an alt-based game in terms of like creating new characters for new classes. Instead, you can do all the different classes on one character if you didn't know that already. So these are my alts, and they're usually just to like play with other people, or like replay the MSQ or something, or do a stream through. I will say, if you consider raid names or reputation names or custom delivery names spoilers, you might want to avert your eyes for a minute. But here's my raids. As you can see, I recently actually decided to color code this and include optional trial series, which I didn't really know were a thing until recently, which is crazy because I've been playing this game for like hundreds of hours and there's still so much I don't know about this. I want to make a video at one point that's like, you should play Final Fantasy XIV, so I can just gush about that. But that's a whole other, you know, that's a whole other project. Reputations here, you can see how I'm doing on those. Custom deliveries, you can see how I'm doing on those. I actually need to do those this week, I haven't started yet this week. And retainer usage doesn't really need its own sheet, to be honest, but just a couple of notes to remind myself who I'm putting on where, because retainers, if you don't know, are basically banks. I very recently made a RuneScape spreadsheet, despite not currently playing RuneScape, and I tried to make the class names kind of match the different... Oh, hang on a second, before we do that, I forgot to mention, in Final Fantasy XIV, I did also recently add a total combat level, a total Disciple of a Hand or Land level, and then a total overall level, which I thought would be kind of fun. So anyway, now we go back to RuneScape, and yeah, that's kind of where I got the inspiration for that. Obviously my total level here and my quest points, whoops, my quest points level here. But yeah, I tried to make the different, not classes, not jobs, but different skills have their skill cape colorings, but I don't really know how successful I was at pulling that off. But anyway, these are not all of my RuneScape alts, but the main ones. I've made so many accounts over the years. And then I have my old school RuneScape accounts here at the bottom as well, which, I have less of, but Iron Kritigri has a higher total level than regular Kritigri on this one, whereas regular Kritigri, I'm still catching up to him. I think next time I have a big stint of playing RuneScape, I'll overtake him, which will be good stuff. And then what else? Also, probably the biggest one. We'll save that for last. We've also got Big Finish Doctor Who, which is one of those things that I kind of contribute to as I go. So you'll see lots of empty sheets here. But basically, it's hard to keep track of, because sometimes they show up on BBC Sounds, sometimes they're given away in a cheap Humble Bundle, so it's kind of hard to keep track of where I've listened to what, so I'm going to have to do it myself. So the War Doctor, there might be spoilers as well in the thoughts, just so you know. The War Doctor is, it was on BBC Sounds for a while, so I've got kind of the name of a serial. I don't know if they're called serials, but it's just a way I wrote it down, the number, when it was released, if I've listened to it, when I listened to it, that is, the rating I give it, and then kind of spoiler thoughts. And then I think, there was a 9th Doctor one as well. And there was a 10th Doctor one as well, and I believe there was also a Companion Tales one as well, so yeah. Very bare bones, that one, but that's just for my own kind of these are all just for me, but that's just kind of to track listening data, I guess. Diablo 4, these are my characters in Diablo 4, as you can see. I've still never hit max level in Diablo 4 because it's such a fucking slog. I've recently been playing Season of the Construct, and I've made a bow rogue who I'm quite enjoying, but I haven't touched him in a week at this point. And then I've also got a sheet for seasons to see what level I got up to and whether I bought them, and as you can see, very good use of my money here so far. Hopefully that improves over time. And finally, the unending backlog, which is free sheets really at the minute. I've also got this little reminder, hey, by the way, if anyone's worried that I'm over spreadsheeting my life, this is just for fun, to the point where if I forget to, or if it feels like a chore to continue updating these sheets, I know that I can always just stop doing that and then go and fix it up later. It's not going to be too difficult next time I'm interested in doing this. But yeah, this isn't to force myself to finish things. This is just as a little a little incentive, it's a little bit of fun. So these are my games. Not every game I've ever played, but every major one, I guess. Every one that came to mind when I was thinking about them. And we have the title of the game, we have the progress, we have the genre, we have the platform that it's being played on, we have the finish date, which is green if it's finished and blue if it's perfected. We have any YouTube content I've made on it. This was obviously before the YouTube spreadsheet I just made, but I think it's still pertinent. And then any thoughts or notes I have on the games, and this is a fairly large spreadsheet, and sometimes it includes games that I don't even have, but it's part of a series that I want to play the entire series of. Actually, no, I've already updated Final Fantasy 2, that's fine. And as you can see, it goes on for a while. It goes on for a little while. It definitely goes on for a while. I include MMO expansions as well, because it makes me feel good to have things that are actually finished, and instead of just having this constant stream of yellow and red, I've got to get my wins where I can take them, okay? If MMOs are where I play the most amount of game content, then hey, maybe I should reward myself for finishing chapters of those, because that's where my time is going into. Then we have an extra sheet for shows and series. I made this the other day. I still need to update this with a bunch of stuff, but I'm pretty happy with how this one has turned out. I've got obviously the names of the shows, what the season I am on is, so yeah, what season I am on or in the middle of, the service that I watched it on, not the service that it's now on, but the service I watched it on, because I'm not keeping up, and the rating of a show is my personal enjoyment, not a proper critical evaluation. So for instance, Doctor Who, I can admit that there's plenty of subpar episodes and it's not a 5 out of 5 across the board, but I don't care, I fucking love Doctor Who. And then I have notes and stuff, so yeah, as you can see, I have whether it's abandoned, whether it's still on my watch list, whether I've started it, whether I'm up to date and waiting for a new season on it, or whether I've finished the show and the show is also finished. And then I also have a reading list, which looks awful because I think reading books is probably my biggest difficulty in terms of keeping my attention span at the minute, but I decided to have a crack at making, like, this isn't like the other sheets where it's like backlogged with stuff I've already finished and stuff I already own and stuff I've already started. This is more just like from the date I made it, because, you know, maybe I will update it at some point with all that stuff, but for the time being, that's what I really want. So yeah, if you're wondering just how spreadsheet mad I've become, that is how spreadsheet mad I've become. Let me know if you also make lots of crazy spreadsheets. Let me know if you have, again, any questions about the YouTube sheet, which is what this video was really meant to be about before it went off the rails. And I will see you in whatever I make next.